Hello and welcome to OpenLM. My name is Sagi, and in this session, we're going to take a look at the core functionality of OpenLM. First, we'll talk about the core functionality, the functions that you get with the basic product without any extras. I'll show you what reports you get, and I'll try to explain how they can help you. Afterwards, I will show you how it's deployed, what you install on which network, and how it all goes together. So we'll start with the core functionality of OpenLM. It can be broken down into simply broken down into 5 different business objectives. So first is the engineering license inventory, the license real-time usage monitoring, usage reporting, license optimization, license server management. Now, these might look a bit similar at first, but they are really very different. We'll take a look at each one in turn to show you how. So first let's take a look at engineering license inventory. License inventory is referred sometimes as discovery, meaning that it's a popular term with SAM software. It means that you know which licenses you own. It means knowing where they are located and if they have expired and when. This is the licenses report. It shows you all the engineering licenses in the organization. Each line represents one feature, which can be a complete software package, an add-on, or it can even be a tool. You can see everything that you need to know about the license, the server from which the license gets pulled, its type, the quantity you've purchased, and the license checkout policy that you define in the license agreement. We're not predefined by the vendor. This is something that I want to stress out. You can assign your own policy to this value. So you can assign your own checkout policy. This is the license server screen that displays all your license managers, their status, and the number of licenses containing in each one. We can take a look inside one particular license manager and see a list of the licenses contained in it, together with the number of purchased for each one. From here, you can go and view essential procurement information. Let's go there. Now, this is the license procurement report. It's an extension of the previous license report and shows critical information such as date the license was issued, when it starts, and when it expires. Engineering license real-time usage monitoring is the second primary function of OpenLM. From static license inventory, we've now moved on to usage, where we can see real-time stats about your license efficiency. You'd be able to know how many licenses are currently in use and get details of how those sessions are actually playing out. So let's take another look at the license report. We saw a few slides back that you were able to see the total number of licenses. But this time, we're interested in what's going on right now. Besides the total number of licenses purchased for each software, we can see how many are checked out and how many are available in the pool for use. We can drill down and look at all the current sessions. So let's click at the last line displayed here that has 6 current users. Once we click that, it drills down to the used column. You can see in the used column the currently consumed licenses screen, where we can see the details of all current sessions for the selected feature including which user pulled it, which workstation he's working from, when did it start, when did he start, his duration, everything that you possibly would need to know. And in fact, we can view the currently consumed licenses for almost any combination of main criteria, so server, vendor, license type, feature, and much more. We can save the filter view for reuse later. Engineering license usage reporting is, well, we've looked at inventory and current usage. Now we're going to focus on the history. This can mean yesterday, last week, or maybe last 3 months. There are a host of structured usage reports in OpenLM, from the dashboard giving an overview of the last week, to visualizations of how usage changes during the day, to denial reports. The reports come in the form of charts, tables, and even heat maps. This is the OpenLM dashboard. It shows you a bird's eye view of the last 7 days trends of denied features and users and used features, as well as current server status and idle sessions. And this is the license usage report. You can see it here aggregated by week. The thinner horizontal line along the top shows the total license inventory, while the lower thicker line shows the usage by week. Note that the purchase in June of additional licenses going from 35 going to 70, which released the pressure at that time, as you can see. This was followed by a drop in demand and a further rise in the months that followed. This data can be shown in table, a heat map, or maybe downloaded as a CSV. Here we see the same license usage report, but it looks a bit different. It's it's aggregated by days. So if we hover over any point, it will display the total aggregated usage for that day. So see these 2 consecutive days. You got 31 licenses used on that day, the maximum, and 34 on the next. You can select the scope of licenses in the filter on the left. And if you want, you can even see the license usage hour by hour. You can even view the license usage graph without any aggregation at all. That means that every new session established by pulling a license and every license returned to the pool is represented on the graph. Note the peak usage on most day from late morning to late afternoon, for example. The license usage heat map display. Note that as usage rises here, the color goes from green to yellow to orange to red at peak usage. Late morning until late afternoon are the highest usage periods here. So all green in the weekends as expected, and during the week we can see a lot of usage here. Denials report show attempts to pull licenses that were rejected because none were available at that time. So we can group them by a dozen different characteristics as shown on the left here. The example you can see right now is grouped by feature. So this is the denials by each feature. Knowing how the denials vary as the day progresses is an important tool in understanding your organization needs and can help in changing your license usage policy so not everyone uses the software at the same time. Here we see denials at the user level, and here are the 3 types of graphic display that you can choose. You can choose column, line, or pie chart. But as important as trends are, you'll still want to know the details from time to time. So here you can see one particular user trying every few minutes to pull a license while all are currently taken. But I think that's enough on denials and reports for now. Let's talk about usage reports. This time from a different point of view. So earlier we looked at the operational reports on a granular level. Now we'll take a look at consolidated usage statistics and trends. So this is the license activity report, what you're seeing here. And this is grouped by feature. Here you can compare the total usage time and token usage in a set period of time for different features, for different users, vendors, and more. And this is the same report, but for organizational groups. This can be department, team, or any custom defined group that you're interested in seeing the usage. We've now covered license inventory, real-time monitoring, and usage reporting. And all these give us information that will help us optimize other licenses to get the most out of the fewest licenses possible. But there's actually more. There's also There are also dedicated reports that hit the optimization nail right on the head. They'll tell you the usage you can expect from owning different numbers of licenses. So you can know that recommended number of licenses for a defined quality of service, and then you'll be able to get the quantity of licenses that you actually need. Also, you'll be able to see which licenses you've bought, but you never actually used. So this is the license utilization report. It's based on historical usage statistics. It maps different numbers of licenses, I guess the percentage of time that number has been in use. In this example, 60 out of a total of 70 of the license pool are in use a mere 1% of the time, and 51 licenses are in use 5% of the time. The bottom line is that your current level of server is 100%, and that's good. But on another hand, if 95% availability is good enough for you, you don't need more than 51 licenses. In this case, the user requested 95% availability by entering 95 at the top here, and the dotted line will mark how many licenses you actually need. So, but this time, for example, the user entered 85. It's the same graph exactly, but now 85% is the threshold that is marked by the dotted line. So for this level, having just 30 licenses will suffice. That's less than half of the current license inventory. The licenses not in use report shows this in a more direct way. So let's say that you bought 40 licenses for a certain product or toolkit, but have never used more than 25 at the same time. Well, it happens a lot, and OpenLM licenses not in use report points you right to the facts that you need to know. So you can then decide whether to continue paying maintenance for them or cancel them. But most of all, you'll know which product not to purchase until those in your inventory are used first. The fifth main function of OpenLM's core product is license server management. License server management means that you can start or stop license servers. You can reread the license file without a license server restart. And you can easily download and view files which are located on the license server. You can view them remotely. Here you can see the license server control panel with the start, stop, and reread functions. When you click on a license server, this panel will pop up, and you can download important files from the license server, such as the license manager log, license file, and options file. You can upload a license file in this way, but it requires an extension. All OpenLM reports can be printed and downloaded to CSV file. You can share with others a link, or you can email them the report itself. You can schedule also the report to run regularly and automatically dispatch reports. And that just about completes the core functionality of OpenLM Core, which is our entry-level product. Now we'll take a look at how OpenLM system can be deployed in your organization. We have 4 options. First, we have the standard configuration, the restricted configuration, we have the cloud configuration, and also advanced configuration. So let's start with the recommended deployment method. This is the standard configuration. This allows you to get the most out of your system in a short time as possible. So first of all, the black text here represents component that you already have on your network, so like a vendor and a license manager. The blue text represents the OpenLM component, so OpenLM broker, OpenLM. On the right, you can see your license server, and on your license manager with one or more vendor daemons. So right here, this is your license server, you have a license manager on it, and vendors connect to it. You install a component on that server called the OpenLM broker. This receives license inventory and usage data from the license manager, as seen here. The second item that you need to install is OpenLM in any suitable server on your network. It can be a dedicated server, it can be a license manager, which one you decide. Now, the OpenLM broker communicates the license data that it receives from the license managers to OpenLM, and then the data is processed to procure software inventory and usage information, which can then be accessed from any device in your organization that is has the required authority. So, recapping, the data comes from the vendor to the license manager to OpenLM broker. OpenLM broker sends it to OpenLM, and from OpenLM you can view it with any browser. Now let's take a closer look inside OpenLM, inside this component. There are 3 main components. The OpenLM server, which is a Windows service that does all the processing of the data received from the license manager, from the OpenLM broker. The OpenLM web application and web server that allows you to work with OpenLM from any browser. And lastly, OpenLM has an internal database. The second mode of deployment is the restricted configuration. It's similar to the standard configuration, except that the OpenLM broker is not used at all. In this case, the license manager is queried directly by OpenLM server. So without the broker, some data cannot be retrieved. Denials information, for example, cannot be retrieved without a broker. So it's only used in cases where it's not possible to install anything on the license server. So only in that case. As you can see here, you can connect OpenLM directly to your license manager, but this is the restricted configuration. It's not. It's only if you cannot install anything on the license server, which this case happens sometimes. In this deployment option, everything is on the cloud except for one component. You only need to install the OpenLM broker on your license server, So it can collect data from your license manager, which then it sends to the cloud deployment via secured connection. So you can see that vendors transmit data to the license managers. The license managers transmit the data to the OpenLM broker, and now the OpenLM broker sends it to the cloud solution, the OpenLM cloud. So it's the same as the first option that we saw, but OpenLM is on a cloud. It's not on premise. And from the cloud, you get the data on a browser. So today we've looked at OpenLM's core functionality. This is what will give you the fastest return on your investment. But after you realize the power of OpenLM core functionality, you can go further. On top of the standard configuration, there are extensions to integrate with your enterprise directory service. You provide information with your users about license availability and establish external databases for reporting and storage. So we have a lot of extensions. As you see, it can get pretty complicated. But for example, with this configuration that you see here, users can query the availability of licenses, including the location of checked out licenses. With the optional OpenLM directory synchronization extension, for example, users and organizational unit information in OpenLM is updated from the Active Directory itself. With the OpenLM Reporting Hub extension, for example, a dedicated report database is automatically created once a day, ready for querying, ready for imposing any BI tool on it. So in short, OpenLM extensions give you more powerful reporting and let you integrate with other IT systems. It gives your users information about license availability and more. Some are free, while others are paid extras. When you're ready, you can try them out for free. So thank you very much for your time. I will now go to the demonstration portion of the webinar. I want to show you everything that I've talked about in the presentation. So first of all, just know that OpenLM helps you keep track of current information, historical information, and it also predicts the future for you. It also tells you how many licenses you need. So how do we get to that? First of all, let's take a look at this license server screen. It shows you see I have a few license servers here. I have Autodesk License Manager, ArcGIS License Manager, and with each one I can click on the quantity and I'll be able to see which features are inside the License Manager. Each feature has a usage percentage. Someone is using it. So for example, SEB, I see that total I have 30 licenses and 19 are actually using now. So who are those 19? Let's click on 19 and then boom, we see everyone who uses. We see the duration of the session, which workstation it's coming from, when it started. If you have a few extensions, you'll also be able to see the idle time of the workstation and the app itself, but this is another webinar. Now, this is great. This shows you the current information, current status of what's going on with your licenses. But some license managers already give you this functionality. So what makes OpenLM special? What makes OpenLM something that you can profit of, so you can benefit from? So for that, I want to show you this report, for example. We saw that, the license usage report. Now, you can understand that right about here, the licenses were really underused. So for example, they had 70 licenses, but the top usage for each day, well, it didn't go over like 27. So it was a huge under usage. But probably when they bought this, they knew that something is coming up, because as you see here, the usage rises and rises until it actually peaks at 70 licenses. So this is good. But what happens here? You know that you're maxing out your licenses, but what happens after that? What's going on when you max out your licenses? Well, users start getting denied. When a user tries to pull a license and the license is maxed out, then a user will not be able to open the application itself. Um, Now, what happens beyond that is the denial. If you want to see the denial, you can go to denials report. And here you'll be able to group denials by different measures. So for example, you can do it by hour in day. You can do it by the server itself. You can pretty much group it however you'd like. And this shows you what's going on. If you see like 1,000 denials for 1 hour, then you know you have a problem. But this still doesn't give you like a clear explanation of what's going on with your licenses and how many licenses you actually need. It shows you that you're maxing out, it shows you that you have denials, but well, what can I do with this? I have Autodesk, how many licenses do I need? So for that, for predicting the future, for predicting how many licenses you actually need, we have the license utilization report. The license utilization report shows you the amount of time, in percentage of course, the amount of time spent on each license level. So when you see 2 here, that means 2 concurrent usages, meaning that I pulled a license and while I am working, you pulled another license. So this means 2 here, and 2 was 73% of the time. Now, as it goes, and if the number gets bigger, number of license usage gets bigger, it's understandably the percentage of time that they are used together drops. Now this enables you to set a quality of service line. Now what is a quality of service? Now let's say that I'm okay with the fact that 5% of the times my users will get denied. So out of 100 times that they try to pull a license, 5 times they will get denied. So if you're okay with that, you can punch in 95% here, and it shows you how many licenses you actually need. So I have 70 licenses for this feature, but in order to get a quality of service of 95, I only need 45 licenses. Now this is a huge reduction. If you want, for example, 90%, so you see that it reduces the amount of licenses even more. You only need 30 licenses. That's a reduction of 40 licenses. Some licenses are very extremely costly. For example, I had one client not long ago, about a month ago, where he had 10,000 licenses for some feature. And we ran this license utilization report, and for a quality of service of 99%, he needed only 5 licenses. Now he blew his mind. um, this enables you to see exactly what's going on. Nobody can tell you, well, you need this and that, because no, nobody can fool you. You know exactly what's going on. You have a pulse. You know, you have your finger on the pulse. The vendor cannot play with you. The vendor itself cannot tell you, well, buy more licenses so you won't go over. Well, you need more licenses. They can't play with you. You have the upper hand here. You can come with graphs. You can come with previous knowledge and tell them exactly what you need. Now, this is great for seeing what you need, but this doesn't show you what you don't need. What does that mean? Sometimes organizations buy licenses and they don't actually use it. For example, right here, for this feature, I see that I have never used 35 licenses from this feature. I see that 4 licenses from this feature were never used. I see I get a lot of information about old projects, for example. Let's say that you have a project that it went on in 2016. It had a few licenses, some permanent licenses were bought, uh, but once the project ended, you kind of lost them. OpenLM will help you find them, will help you, uh, will tell you that, well, you found those licenses and nobody's using them. So next time, don't buy them or get maybe a refund for them. It gives you power. It empowers you in front of the vendor. So you can also use this tool. So just to recap, we took a look at the license server screen, which you can go to Start Widgets, License Servers. We took a look at the license usage report. You go to Start, Reports, License Usage. We took a look at denials report. Again, Start, Reports, and Denials. The license utilization report, which shows you how many licenses you actually need. Under Start, Management, License Utilization. And licenses not in use report, which shows you how many licenses you're not using, which licenses you never used. So this you can get via clicking the Start button, going to Management, and clicking on Licenses Not in Use report. Now, OpenLM has many reports, as you've seen here. It also has a reporting extension that allows you to create your own reports, however you'd like them, just by dragging and dropping them. But we will just be covering today the OpenLM core product, and in the core product there are a lot of reports, but I don't want to go over each one. I just went over a few which are widely used, give you the best example of what OpenLM can give you. So this is it for me. If you have any questions, please go ahead, ask away. You can ask in the GoToMeeting chat. You have a chat box that you can ask, or maybe you can just use your microphone and ask. But anyway, I thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed this webinar. I hope it was informative. If you have any questions regarding what you've seen now, regarding OpenLM extensions, just about anything, you can contact the support team at support@openlm.com and just ask away. We'll be happy to help. Thank you.